without relying on that hardware keyboard. That familiar BlackBerry quality that we know is still here. The stainless steel frame, that nice heft and weight in the hand, that great sound quality. That's something that BlackBerry has been very consistent with over the years. Largely, it's the software experience where BlackBerry went wrong. And with BlackBerry 10 in early 2013, the company tried to turn it all around, but was met with little success. The Passport is meant to be used by enterprise users, by people who need that hardware keyboard but yearn for that sharper screen and that wider screen real estate. And to some extent, the keyboard is a success. It's very fast, it's extremely responsive, and that it can be used as a trackpad is a way to save screen real estate. You can swipe back and forth to select text without actually poking on the screen itself, and the screen rarely registers false commands. And we found the whole thing to be really interesting. We don't know if it's significantly faster than modern-day virtual keyboards, but it feels better and will appeal to people who have loved BlackBerry over the years. It's not without its faults, though. The spacebar is quite slim, and the keys don't feel quite as responsive as they did on BlackBerries of the past. Of course, the software is the other side of the story. And with BlackBerry OS 10.3, you have a visual overhaul that maintains much of the consistent high performance that we know from BlackBerry 10 devices of the past. With the Snapdragon 800 processor and 3 gigs of RAM, there's no shortage of performance, and BlackBerry's done a lot to improve overall smoothness and the animation speeds on BlackBerry OS 10.3. With 32 gigs of internal storage and a 13 megapixel camera, the Passport is going to go up to bat with any current device on the market. Of course, that it's so wide and so awkward is certainly going to make things difficult, and it may not appeal to everybody, but it is a really well-made device. With the Passport, though, hardware is not the problem. BlackBerry's pre-installed 2 app stores on the device. The traditional BlackBerry store, where you can download many Cascade apps and traditional native BlackBerry apps, many of which have been abandoned by the developers. But there's a lot of well-made enterprise apps and some consumer apps like Evernote, and of course the first-party apps like BBM. But the big story here is the inclusion of the Amazon App Store and what it entails for the future of BlackBerry as a platform. You see, you can install Android apps the way that you normally would on any Android device. They don't work the same as on an Android device because they live in a container. And sometimes you can even have doubles. So for example, Twitter, you can have the native BlackBerry Twitter app right next to the Android app. With that, you have a situation where you come up to half measures. For example, the Facebook or Twitter app that's made for BlackBerry can talk to the BlackBerry hub. You can receive notifications, it'll make that red light blink, you'll know exactly what's up. With the Android apps, they work better, they look better, they're newer, they're more up to date with newer features, but they are siloed, they don't talk to the OS itself. You won't know when you receive a new tweet. Other apps like Instagram, they look good, but they just don't work well with the 1:1 aspect ratio screen. The BlackBerry browser is still a fantastic alternative to native apps, and that's something that we've seen improve with BlackBerry OS 10.3. Another piece of the puzzle here is the camera, and it's been thoroughly improved over even the excellent Z30 camera. This is a 13 megapixel sensor with optical image stabilization. The shutter speed is very quick thanks to the Snapdragon 800 chip and 3 gigs of RAM, and overall everything flies. We were really impressed with the speed and the quality of the camera. The main issue though is that apps made for BlackBerry work really well, but those that don't, those that need to be sideloaded like Foursquare or anything else that relies on Google Play services just won't work, and you'll quickly realize that many apps that aren't available in the Amazon App Store are not there because they rely on Google Play services, and some of them are essential to the Android experience, and you just won't be able to recreate them on the BlackBerry Passport. That's why BlackBerry's created a lot of its own experiences. Assistant, for example, is an excellent Siri or Google Now competitor with amazing voice recognition and the ability to get a ton of information really quickly, from sports scores to restaurant reviews through Yelp, through sending a quick text to a friend. Ultimately, though, this is a BlackBerry through and through. You get BBM, you get a great email experience, you get an amazing keyboard, and for the first time you get a really fantastic camera and an amazing screen. John Chen was right. BlackBerry is back, and it's a lot more focused than it ever was. This is one of the best enterprise devices we've ever used. But we don't know if we can recommend it wholeheartedly to the everyday consumer unless you need that keyboard. The software is great, but it just doesn't all work together. Everything else does, though, and that's what we like.